Let us pray. Gracious God, may the words of my mouth, the meditations of our hearts, our minds, even our spirits, may they be acceptable, O God, in your sight. O God, our rock and our redeemer. Amen. Amen. Well, it all comes down to love. Love. Where to find it, how to live it, how to share it. For love is the Christian story. A story whose first sentence is this: God so loved the world that God sent Jesus, that through him the world might be saved. And then later in the story, after the Last Supper, Jesus concludes his teaching to the disciples by saying this: I give you a new commandment, that you love one another, for it is by your love that everyone will know that you are my disciples. Love. It initiated Jesus' ministry. Love concluded his ministry. So with due respect to the hokey pokey, love is what it's all about. As people of faith, as tellers, as caretakers of love's story, how can we be like Dolly Levi, the matchmaker in the musical Hello, Dolly, and find and live love? How can we have it blossom and flourish in our lives, in our relationships? Well, modern day matchmaker, eHarmony, claims that love flourishes when we find people who are like us. That is, people who think like us and believe what we believe and socialize as we do. And if not exactly like we do, well, then at least in highly similar ways. Specifically, they have 29 similarities that potential partners should have in common if love is to take root and blossom among them. Now, I need to tell you right now that before I go any further, I am not a matchmaker. This sermon comes with a disclaimer. And the disclaimer is, it is not intended as personal relationship or marital advice. That is the public service announcement. Now back to our regularly scheduled sermon. This sermon is about love, but it's about God's love. Again, where to find it, how to live it, and share it, not romantic love. So, if you met your partner on eHarmony.com, that's terrific. But as a means to find and flourish God's love, their model is lacking. For if God's love is dependent, as they claim, on all of us thinking and believing the same way, especially 29 separate ways, well, then the world is in trouble. We have trouble enough thinking alike on one or two ways. Certainly Christmas, the birth of Jesus into our world, it was not a plan hatched by God to make us all the same. There is no salvation in sameness. Yet there are, in Christianity and in Islam, Judaism, folks that adhere to an eHarmony style of theology, insisting unanimity of thought and belief is the only way to find, the only way to win God's love. But that is not the message, and that is not the model of Jesus' own ministry. When it comes to love, there are still others who do not follow the eHarmony way, but say and claim that opposites attract, that love is sparked by attention, a friction that exists when there is a union of diversity. The magazine Psychology Today, looking into this type of definition of love, says that we are naturally drawn to the needs, the desires, the abilities that are left unfulfilled in our own lives. Therefore, if we are more submissive or quiet by nature, we seek and admire someone more assertive. If we are shy, we seek someone more socially gregarious. And if we are cautious, we seek and admire someone more adventurous than we. Such relationships, according to Psychology Today, can be highly successful when each partner learns from the other, when they grow to appreciate and respect not only their ways, but also the ways of the other, thus gaining a wider viewpoint, a more complete experience of the world around them. Just a reminder, I am not a matchmaker. I don't know if any of that is true. But in search of God's love, that is a love that can redeem the world, which, of course, was God's aim, remember, in sending Jesus and his model of love here into this world. At least in this theory, there is hope. Hope for the world. Hope that somehow that we can actually achieve love despite our differences, or maybe even because of them. This model suggests that we can find love and have it flourish if we have the strength and the willingness to learn from one another. If we can appreciate another's divergent viewpoint and allow it to broaden our own viewpoint and ability to see the breadth of the beauty of God's good creation. If that is the case, maybe love is not similarity, but maybe love is the courage not to force sameness, but the ability to embrace diversity in which we all become greater, stronger, wiser. Certainly Jesus modeled this kind of love. He embraced those who were different, those that were rejected, those that were shunned, precisely because they thought and believed and acted different. Then again, maybe God's love has nothing to do with our similarities or our differences. In traditional marriage vows, one expression of love, promises are made to have and to hold, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness or in health. Love, in this sense, it's not a spark that arises from the friction of differences. It's not a measure of the similarity between us. It's not a feeling of affection. It's a commitment. A commitment to stand by another flawed human being. Maybe that is what love is. A commitment. Not similarity, but solidarity. Simply and courageously a commitment to seek the welfare of another, whether or not we or they are the same or different, whether we agree or disagree. Biblically speaking, more than anything else, God's love is described as steadfast. That is how God's love is described in the Bible the most, 139 times. Steadfast. Always present, whether we succeed or whether we fail, whether we deserve it or not. God and God's love stand with us, steadfast and sure. God's steadfast love is exactly what the psalmist describes in our reading this morning. Where can I go from your spirit, O God? Where can I flee from your presence, from your love? The conclusion is nowhere. Because, O God, you are everywhere. And so is your love. If that is the case, then maybe we don't really need to be saved. What we need is to know that we are loved. Love. Even after having been searched and known completely, we are loved still by God. That is why God sent Jesus into the world. To tell us that, to show us that, and to inspire us to teach and tell and show that love to others. Others who are similar or dissimilar, the hurting, the joyful, both in good times and in bad. The truth is, we don't need to find God's love. It's not lost. It's not hidden. We are. We are the ones that need to be found, as it says in Amazing Grace. God's love surrounds us everywhere and all the time. What we need to do is open the gift which is already ours. And when we open that gift, Christmas, and its message from God that we are loved, it comes into our lives and into our world. And that love changes everything.